Hi, I'm Jelena.
And I'm David.
And welcome to our YouTube tutorial.
Yep.
What are we doing today?
Today we're doing Parsvottanasana.
It's the last fundamental pose.
Parsvottanasana.
Parsvottanasana. Yeah. What did you say?
Pars.
Oh, pars. Okay. All right.
Do you care? Does anybody care?
I'm sure, yeah.
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 Parshva. What does Parshva mean?
Parsva means side.
And what does Uttana mean?
Intense?
Yeah.
Stretch? Like
Yeah.
intense stretch? Yeah.
Yeah. But usually we'll say Uttana for standing forward bends.
Right.
Like Uttanasana would be the straight leg standing forward bend.
Mm-hmm.
So this is side standing forward bend.
Or this one.
I know it too. It's called in some other practices, pyramid pose.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know that.
Yeah. But before we go anywhere else,
Let us know what you think, what you want to see by commenting, subscribing to our channel, and liking it. Hopefully you like it because you're here.
yeah. All right. Back to the show.
Back to the show.
Okay. So we're going to go through the vinyasa count for Parsvottanasana, and then we'll break it down a little bit. So this is the last of the fundamental sequence, the last posture of the fundamental sequence, the 11th pose. And it's a little different than the other ones. So from Samastiti, we go Yekam, inhale into the setup position. Dwe, exhale into the state of the asana. And the drishti is paragrai, the tip of the foot. 5 breaths there. Trini, inhale, you come up and turn. Chitwari, exhale, left side. Again, paragrai drishti. 5 breaths there. Pancha, inhale, come up, turn to the side. And then exhale, back to Samastiti. Okay? So in some ways, it's kind of a straightforward count.
Mm-hmm. But it's like a more difficult pose than it looks.
Yeah.
I find it.
There's a couple things that make it tough.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the biggest thing is the shoulders. Like bringing the hands into that reverse prayer position. It can be tough for people. And then second would be the hamstrings. Yeah. Because it's quite a deep hamstring stretch.
Yeah, and in this one, the tradition tells us that we don't bend the forward leg to bring the chin to the shin, but we just fold as much as we can, keeping that leg perfectly straight. So you really feel it, going into the hamstring and stretching it. It's deep.
Yeah, let's go over some of the traditional coordinates. So that was the vinyasa count. And then inside of those instructions, there were certain coordinates, measurements that are part of our tradition. So Yekam, on this inhale, Jelena steps her heels about 3 feet apart and then pivots on the right foot so that she ends up in, this is a familiar leg position. We did this in Trikonasana, triangle pose, right? Now we're in a different posture. So in Trikonasana, actually, this was on Dwe. We came into this position.
Yeah, as we were going down.
Yeah. But now on Yekam, all on the inhale, we get into that foot setup with the arms around behind. Yeah. And then on the exhale, Dwe, Jelena keeps the right leg straight, like she was saying, as she comes forward and keeps the gaze towards the foot. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then Trini, inhale. All on that one inhale, she switches the feet and turns the body. So she's back into the setup. And then Chitwari, with the exhale, she just basically folds forward, keeping the front leg straight. 5 breaths there. Pancha, inhale, and she comes back to the side. And actually, she hasn't been in this position yet. So it's a little bit uneven, the vinyasa. And then exhales back to Samastiti. It bothers me a little bit that it's uneven, but I guess I just have to practice. Yeah.
Not about your opinion.
Okay. And then I guess traditionally that's about it in terms of how you're supposed to do it, right?
Yeah. And then there's also, so when we step 3 feet, which is same as you mentioned, Trikonasana. And then this back foot always stays at 90 degrees, or the outer edge of your foot is parallel with the outside of your mat. That's the traditional. Here's where you have a choice. When you step, you can step so that when you turn, you have heel to heel alignment, which makes it a little bit more stable and making it easier to balance as you fold forward. Or if you're ready to challenge yourself, then we would set up with heel to arch alignment and then fold over. When you have this alignment, heel to arch, and you're folding forward, it's more of a direct straight line, and you're bringing your chin to the inside of your shin, somewhere around here. When you're here, you kind of have to go a little bit more to the side as you're folding.
You think so?
Just like that much.
Yeah, just be careful. I mean, it's hard to tell because it's kind of, you can't see your back, but that you're not turning, you're not sort of curving your spine in order to get your chin onto your shin. So you can see Jelena's kind of going that way. We want to try to keep the hips and the spine straight as she goes forward. Yeah. So yeah, it makes more sense, right? An even stretch.
It's what we've talked about before when we talked about folding forward in a seated. But even if you think about here, when you're doing, let's say, dwe, and you fold forward in sun salutation, watch where your chin ends. It ends in between your legs, so on the inside of both shins. So that also means here, when we just have one leg in the front, when we fold forward, pretend as if the other leg was there. So you're folding towards the inside, and that ensures more or less that your spine stays nice and straight instead of this idea of kind of leaning a little bit towards the side. And so that also means that the inside of my heel ideally is in line with the middle line of my body, so where the pubic bone is, so that also ensures the straighter line as opposed to bringing the foot further out.
And one of our biomechanical principles, rules for the knee joint is that the knee and the foot need to point in the same direction all the time. So just make sure, that with that back leg, because
I can do it this way.
See this right foot here is pointing out to the side, that we're letting the thigh stay back here. We're not trying to roll the thigh forward and bringing the knee forward so that the knee and the toes point in two different directions. We want the knee and the toes both to be pointing out to the side here. And then as Jelena comes forward and she lets more weight come into that front foot, that's what's going to keep the hips nice and level, actually. Okay. All right. And then we've kept the best for last, the arms and the shoulders. Yeah.
That's the really difficult part.
Yeah, if you have tight shoulders or an issue going on with the arms with the rotation.
Or even or
the wrists. Yeah, this can be tough. You can always, obviously modify it. Just do what you can. So sometimes we'll just tell people to try to bring the fingertips together behind their back like that. That's fine. Just like this. Do what you need to do. Sometimes we see people do the fists. I would say, okay, if you absolutely need to do fists, no problem. But if you can, start to introduce the fingers just to get a little bit more.
Even if it stays low. Because I find if you do this versus this, bringing even just your fingertips together, it keeps you kind of more aware of what are you doing through your shoulders and your elbows. And you can right away on your own, you don't even need a teacher to point it out, to notice that if you're collapsing and that you need to keep this here nice and open, versus the fists, it's like less obvious.
It's like there's nowhere else to go with the fist. I find here you've initiated the first step into the depth
the direction. Of it.
And then so let's talk about what's going on when you're coming into it. So you're bringing your arms into extension, your shoulders into extension behind, inward rotation. Right? And then bending the elbows, flexing the elbows to bring the fingers together, and then deepening the bend and the rotation of the arms to get the hands to come up the back like that. Yeah. Ideally. So what needs to happen is we have to be able to let the arms get far enough into that in rotation. And then the problem here is that for us to bring the fingers towards the back, that's going to be even deeper internal rotation. That's where you start to feel like you don't have the room anymore. Mm-hmm. So one of the kind of easiest ways to get around that is just to bring the hands to the side of your body and lift the fingers and then slide the hands behind you. Because that
much easier.
Yeah, takes away some of that internal rotation that you needed to do to get the hands there.
Yeah, and then you kind of have the hand to whichever side you brought your palms to kind of push and direct the other one back towards your spine. Yeah. So here, if I bring everything to my left side, then once my left palm is against the right one, I can kind of use the strength of this arm to wiggle and push things back up.
Shoulders are kind of tricky because there's a bunch of, I forget what the number is, there's a bunch of different muscles working at any moment to get the arms to move like that. And when
it's a shallow joint too.
It's shallow joint, all muscles holding it together, and then sometimes they're like tightening up to try to get the mobility to happen. And you're working against yourself in a way. So sometimes it's easier just to totally relax. We call it surprising yourself. So you just try to slap your arms back and around. So you would just release the shoulders and the arms, and then use your momentum, swing them back, and get them into position. You'd be surprised that you might get better results doing that than moving nice and slow into position.
If you see any videos of our teacher practicing, that's basically how he does all of the binds too. Like this one here. And I do it too. You hear the slap. It doesn't hurt, obviously, but you relax and all of a sudden, like your arm gets longer by an inch and it makes like a big difference. So you can do that side. You can do surprise yourself, or you can do one where you kind of add a little bit of a back bend as you're stepping to create the space, to bring the arms.
I think no matter what, you're probably creating some back bend.
Yeah. But this one I feel is like a little bit more exaggerated when I do it like that. Because then I'm able to bring the arms really high up.
High up, yeah. So where should the arms be then, do you think, the hands, when you're trying to get them behind you? How high up your back?
Well, so here, David's shirt's stuck. Oh, it's like really stuck. Now do it. So another tip is also sometimes we'll see people do this under their shirt because the sweat will help you slide up. So here's the thing. Actually here, David might be feeling quite a bit of tension in his wrists because of the angle here. So if you're able, you let the elbows relax a little bit and you wiggle higher up, and that will decrease this tension here in your wrist. So instead of having, this is like extension. Yeah. When you go higher up, you see that this changes, right?
The angle changes, yeah.
And so you want to go higher up, and then the idea is that you are wanting to press the palms together, because that will help keep the shoulders open and elbows from collapsing down. So there is a resistance happening. Don't just bring them up there and then relax and let go.
The rule is anytime your arms are coming below the shoulder, so into extension in the shoulder, then we want internal rotation. 1, to get into position, and then 2, shoulders back. In that order. Internal rotation, shoulders back. Mm-hmm. All right?
All right.
That's all we know.
We hope that was helpful, useful.
Yeah. Let us know. And hopefully we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.